Hello and welcome to Just Mental Talk, the podcast serving Northern Ireland. Remember to subscribe on YouTube at Just Mental 25 and please subscribe to our channel. Today we have got Thomas or Ta from Change, Gem and the Change Wellness Programme. Thomas, very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining us here on Just Mental Talk. So tell us a bit about yourself and tell us your story, your journey.
Oh, thank you, Car, for inviting me on. As you said, I'm Thomas or Todd Walls. I've been working in health and wellbeing now for a number of years, more years than I can remember. Where my journey started was I was morbidly obese, born at 13 pound 14 ounces, so 2 ounces off a stone, and by the age 16 weighed 16 stone, and it just gradually grew from there. So I was the popular kid known for being overweight or the
Okay.
fat kid, and it was something that I struggled with my whole life. As I say, being born a stone, you're kind of up against it straight away. Thankfully, where I came from and the area I came from, it was a bit of a rough area, so bullying wasn't too bad
Okay.
in terms of being exposed in that way, but there was some tough times growing up being overweight. It leaves its mark, but that mark is one that can't be seen. It's something that impacted me through my whole formative years, through my whole childhood into adulthood.
In which way, Thomas? And when you say it leaves a mark, what sort of mark?
It's really hard to put into words because it impacts your confidence.
Okay.
And then there's this stigma attached to overweight people. They're jolly, they're happy, and we're really not. We're really, really not. So what that does is it leads us into leaning into playing these roles where people expect you to behave a certain way. If you're fat, you're happy. And I most certainly wasn't. But what I got good at doing was acting. I acted the role of being the happy fat kid. And that led me into the main role that I played through my formative years, is people pleasing. And that was something that I learned very, very young. If I can make other people happy, then by extension, surely happiness would find its way to me. It took me a lot of years to figure out that that's not how happiness works. And so, yeah, being overweight, growing up where it did, it made me realize that life is hard. And I learned that out very, very early. And I had a mum who loved me, and she never seen anything wrong with this. She just loved me as I was and for who I was, and just allowed it to be. And she done the best for me as she thought.
Did you
But
love you?
absolutely not.
No.
God, and well, I mean, you don't even know what love is. I'll tell you what I realized is that very soon you don't get girlfriends.
Okay.
You don't get girlfriends, and you become friends with girlfriends, but you don't get girlfriends. And that was something that then further dents your confidence, further impacts your kind of masculinity. And so I overcompensated in many ways, because then I was the friend to all the girls. Actually, my nickname by my mates in school was Head of Pastoral Care, because I was looking after everybody, because that's what I found my role was, and I played it to the best of my ability, because that made me fit in. Because there was lots of other things that I physically couldn't fit into. Like my mates would have went into local schools and played football, and I couldn't get in. So I had to make excuses up to go do something else or go be somewhere else. So there was a lot of things that my physicality instantly excluded me from. And all of these things you don't realize at the time just leaves a little bit of a scar. And those scars build up. And those scars, they're the things to carry the weight with your whole life. And so it came to pass that I just found myself good with people.
Okay.
And so that's what I set about doing. Volunteered in the local youth club where I went to, and they were great to me. They put me through all sorts of training, all sorts of courses, and I would consider myself an intelligent person. So I took every opportunity that came to me. Started off doing childcare, doing play work, then into youth work, and eventually into community work. So I've always served others.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found was that gave me a good place to hide behind my own stuff.
Okay.
Because, as I said already, I always had this belief that if I could help enough people, at some point, that's going to make me feel happy. The opposite is actually the truth. The more people I help, the more people I thought I was helping, the unhappier I became, because I seen other people's lives changing, and here I was staying stuck, feeling lost. And this just gradually crept into my life with no real evidence as it was happening. As it was happening, it was just life. And so the only way I knew how to cope with my emotions was to eat.
Okay.
And that became a vicious cycle. So I ate because I was unhappy. And to make me less unhappy, I ate. And that's the kind of relationship then I developed with food, is because I wasn't really a drinker, never taken drugs in my life. Something which I'm extremely proud of, given
Yeah,
the area
absolutely.
where I grew up in. It was rife, and a lot of my friends engaged in it with no judgment to them because it was normal.
Hmm.
But it just never was for me. And so my kind of vice, my crutch, my attachment then was to food. And I hid food like an alcoholic would have drink.
Right, okay.
I planned my food and how to be sneaky about it. So maybe this person would have knew about it, but that person didn't know about it. And I became very methodical. And it was only later on down the line I realized that food is an addiction that helps you deal with your emotions. So yeah, that's the kind of formative years. And tapping the scales, I got to a point where I weighed 30 stone,
Right.
and it was just so unhappy.
What sort of age were you then? At
Early
30.
20s, 20s, and I was eating my way into an early grave. But I convinced myself, and that's the ironic thing looking back. The stories in which I was telling myself at the time was, I'm fit, I'm young, because I was in a youth club. I was playing table tennis with the kids, pool, football from time to time with the kids. And I want to consider myself actually okay. Whether I was or not, that's a
Yeah.
different story. But I was just fooling myself. And the only time I found any type of comfort was eating. And it's a sad truth to look back on now. And it's a hard lesson to have learned. But that's ultimately what kind of shaped me into the person that I am now. So I don't have no regrets
Hmm.
about it, that I'm kind of a little bit more experienced on the journey which I'm undertaking at the minute. But it was a lot of learning along the way. It wasn't until I had a child, I was 20, and when I had him, and I was taking him to the park, and he was full of energy, full of youth, full of excitement, taking him to the park, and I was just simply walking up the little hill in Dunville Park in the Falls area,
Hmm.
and I was out of breath. And taking my son out of the park, about 5 minutes in, broke his heart, and it broke mine. And something in that me changed that day. Something clicked that had never clicked before, because I'd done the dads, I'd been to the gym and followed the self-help shortcuts, hacks, before they were called biohacks, before your Instagram days, and all of these kind of shortcuts that were all out there. I tried everything and failed at everything because, well, I'm Thomas Walls from Falls. I'm no good at anything. I'm not designed to make an imprint on this world, and this is just my life as it is. And that was again a self-fulfilling prophecy that was coming real in my everyday life. So that became an even bigger weight to carry than the physical weight.
And that self-fulfilling prophecy, do you think that was a prophecy that started off in childhood? From
Um,
that bullying, from that
all of
taunting?
that
Yeah.
card, and it was just like, that's life.
Mm.
You know, I have to just accept this for what it is. But as I said, something in that moment aligned in me. Something became coherent by how I was thinking and how I was feeling. And for the first time, I felt like I had a wee bit of belief in myself that I was going to do this. And I did set about going on a significant weight loss program. And I lost 9 stone. Um, well, I negotiated, mitigated with myself first of all. It was around about the September time, because it was my wife at the time's brother's wedding, and I was asked to do best man. And I wore a size 54-inch waist
Jeepers, right.
and a 5XL jacket. Now, the embarrassment alone, for anybody who carries weight will know this, the embarrassment alone of wearing those sizes is just, it's just something you can't explain unless you've experienced that and held that in here. You just can't explain it, and people don't get it. People can have empathy, they just don't, unless you've been there.
Mm.
You just don't understand it. So on that day, I made a promise to myself I was going to enjoy this side of Christmas as we do. I'm going to start Monday. That was my start Monday. New year, new me, and all that. So I didn't know as much as then as I know now. So I didn't kind of, I was living with one eye in the future, but going, do you know what? I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself now. And I was about 29 stone and £4, and I enjoyed myself. And I weighed myself a couple of days after Christmas, and I was 29 stone, £12.
Right.
And I probably put on another couple of pounds because I was starting in the 1st of January. And to be fair to me, I did. I'd done it the whole wrong way. I'd done it as a form of punishment. I'd done it as a form of self-sabotage. I literally punished myself. So I was dropping my son off to play school and then going to the gym for 3 hours.
What do you mean punishing yourself? What were you punishing yourself for?
Being fat.
Okay.
Being overweight, being unhappy, being unhealthy, allowing myself to get to that state, essentially.
So you blamed yourself?
Oh, 100%.
For getting to that state?
100%. Now, at the start, blame my ma. So I did.
Right, okay.
Because she was feeding me. Blame my elder siblings because they were feeding me. Blamed anybody who I could have blamed because I don't want to blame myself. I don't want to be accountable and responsible for what I had done. But no, it was a form of punishment when I started. And so I went to the gym and just 2 hours on a cross trainer. Didn't enjoy it one bit, but it wasn't about enjoyment. It was about punishment. Only done cardio, didn't lift weights. Weights were for strong men. I wasn't strong. Mentally, I felt weak. Physically, I was a mess. It was like, no, I don't deserve even to lift weights. That's where I belong. This is where the fat people belong on the cardio area, just sweating all the fat out of you. Again, had no clue. So I'd said about it and lost 9 stone because I was getting married that year, and I made a promise to my wife, who was my wife to be, not to her but for her, that I was gonna be someone who she'd be proud of marrying on that day. And as I said, I lost 9 stone, so it was about 21 and a half stone on the day I got married. So that was the January that it started.
Okay.
And then...
In between that, you mentioned about the training tab, but what about your relationship with food, though? Because you were saying, obviously, you were addicted to food.
Yeah.
So any addict coming off or trying to come off what they're addicted to is extremely difficult. So how did you manage that?
Starve myself.
Right, okay. So you went literally extreme.
Extremes.
Yeah.
I always had that mindset, all or nothing.
Right.
And that's why diets never worked for me. Lifestyle change didn't work, because the minute that I made one mistake, one fuck up, straight back to the start. And anybody that's listening to this who struggles with this will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you failed all over again, and then all the past failures are right here, right now with you. And the weight of it's too much because you're punishing yourself. And thankfully I've learned how to play the game differently, but at that time it was just starving myself. Significant calorie deficit, just eating like a rainbow coloured diet. Didn't know what that meant at the time, but just eating lettuce, even though I didn't like it. It wasn't about enjoyment at that time. It was just about punishment. I've got myself into this mess, and this is the only way I can get myself out of this mess. So you've got to punish yourself. The only way that you're going to feel better is by punishing yourself. So it was 5 to 6 days a week in the gym, not one bit of enjoyment. Starving myself. Now, to try and mask it up and then make sure everybody wasn't worrying about me at the weekend of what I got to take away, but it was significantly different from the way I would have been. Now, it served me in the long term, but at the time, it wasn't enjoyment, because what that done then, I started putting tension on my relationships with people. I started kind of isolating myself away. I didn't want to have a social life. I didn't want to go out drinking with my wife or my friends or anything at the time, because it's all about the calories. It's all about the losing weight. That was my only focus in life. And what that made me do was miss out on so much of what was right in front of me.
And looking back to, you talked about you went from 29 down to 21, thereabouts for your wedding. When you lost that weight, were you doing that for yourself, or were you doing that for your wife at the time?
Doing it for everybody else.
Everybody
doing
else.
Doing it for my son, doing it for my wife at the time, doing it for everybody but me. Because the truth is, at the time, I didn't care.
You had no self-worth.
No self-worth. I wouldn't even been able to spell self-worth, and that's the truth. It had no concept. And bear in mind, I was a youth worker at the time, and this is exactly what I was practicing and preaching to the kids. And it's looking back, and then that's what I mean. I set out with this view to help as many people as I can. At some point, it's going to click for me. At some point, I'll find my happiness in that. But as I seen young people kind of get their lives together, turn their lives around, and it just made me further detached from myself.
Okay.
It was like, why am I not doing this? It just set off this kind of spiral within me, and that's when I became aware more so of the stories that were starting to build inside of my head. the self-loathing, the hatred. And that's a word I don't use nowadays, but at the time it was filled with hatred, and hatred's a powerful motivator.
Hatred of
Me.
Yeah.
And life and everything else. And again, I was so good at hiding it. So good at masking it from my wife at the time and my friends, my family, and because you're the heavy person, you're jolly. You're meant to be happy when you're fat. And the opposite is so the truth. And so it just got to the point where I had no real understanding of who I was, never fully understood who I was. The roles in which I played them so well, but the person behind those roles, well, I had no clue. Bear in mind, I'd been to university and studied and was learning these theories and practices and applying them to kids. It was just going way over my head when it came to me. And it's something that I've found along my experience of this journey is that people who help others often negate to help themselves first. And that's true of life as well. And it's something that I have built, and we'll talk about this maybe later, Car, the change program on, is that all relationships begin and end with the one that you have with yourself. Because if it's not in here and we go searching out there for it, we'll never find it. Because there's no space, even if we do. We don't know what it looks like because we don't know what it feels like. And so we can't grasp then the very things that we can't hold within us. It slips through our very fingertips. Because at the right time, my wife loved me. And I don't want to tell her story.
No.
But I was felt unlovable. And I've never been able to tell her these words, but I always was waiting for her to come in and say this was a joke. Because she was a beautiful woman.
And you could understand why
I
she
couldn't
loved you.
understand why she picked me. I was waiting for her to. And I didn't realise that the way later on down the line. Like, how can someone so thin, so attractive love me? Because I didn't.
And she had no idea of how you were feeling at that
Not at
time.
that point. No one did, because I didn't talk about it. I bottled it all up. Well, I'm from the Falls area. You're a man. You don't talk about your feelings. You hate them. Now, bear in mind, I'm good at listening to everybody else's, but you don't talk about yours. Not if you're a man. Not if you're from the Falls. So I played those roles like every other role really well. Well, so I thought until I realised I wasn't. It was all just an act. And that
When did you realise that actually? I know you talked about when your son was in the park, that's when you realised you had to do something about your weight. But when did you realise that you've been performing for the past couple of decades?
it's hard to kind of
Yep.
pinpoint one exact moment. I can tell you a significant moment when I realised my battle had changed, the struggle of my life. So I continued with the weight loss because I was good at doing it. I was good at punishing myself. I was good at people seeing it as discipline. It wasn't discipline, it was punishment. Because discipline is something completely different, is what I've come to understand it as now. But I was punishing myself and I was so good at it because there's so much anger and so much frustration and so much venom that I carried towards myself. I was good at it. It was probably the only thing I was good at.
Okay.
And so I did. I continued on with my weight loss journey, and my skin then started to get really loose. At that point, then I started losing weight, and I had fallen into a number of different other courses around health and well-being. So there's a local healthy living centre, and I went to them for advice and guidance, and they were very kind and put me through a number of training qualifications, the Morrisina Centre, and they still help me and assist me now. It's a great organisation with great people.
Oh, what's that organisation called? Sorry.
The Morrisina Centre, and it's a healthy living centre.
Okay.
And so they says, well, look, if you're really genuinely interested about this, because I worked in the community as a youth worker and by extension done some community work, we'll fund you to go and do these courses. And I was like, right, great, I'm going to learn about all this. So I learned then about the process of lifting weights and strength-based training and the importance of it. So I started lifting a bit of weights, and my body then started changing from someone who was just round to someone who was looking different. But I didn't see it. Still didn't see none of it, Carl. It was just like the person who was in the mirror isn't the person who I could see or become familiar with. And so I went to speak to my doctor then. I was like, I know the answer. If I get surgery, if I get the loose skin, then I was starting to become more and more. If I get that. So talk to the doctor. She says, 13 and a half stone because my BMI was still too high. If you get down to 13 and a half stone, give me a goal. I'll set my mind to it. I'll get there. So I busted my chops, had the plan, and get down to the 13 and a half stone. Got the 13 and a half stone. Stood on the scales in the doctor, and I went, this is it. This is when I'm going to be happy. My happiness now comes at this point. This is when I get to literally shed my skin because I'm going to get this operation. I'm going to be a whole new me, a whole new mindset. My life's going to change. And I stood on those scales and my world collapsed because I still wasn't happy.
Even though you'd hit the target?
Even though at 13 and a half stone. Now, to put that into context, I had lost over 50% of my body weight.
I was going to say, you went from 30 down to 13 and a half.
Stone.
Gee, or 16 and a half stone, jeebers.
And I've done it all on my own. Not healthily,
yeah,
but naturally. Without very little assistance by way of having a PT or a coach. But what I realised in that moment is that happiness didn't lie on the scales. It wasn't in a number. And that happiness didn't live inside of me at all. A few months later, I was diagnosed then with depression. It was something that was so obvious, but something I resisted so long because I'd never been happy. Now, if you looked at my life from the outside in, and people who know me and haven't known me in a while may go, Jesus Christ, we didn't know what about him. I had a wife, 2 kids at the time. We had a car each, we had a house. We were seen as that couple where everything was good. Outward looking, it was. But I wasn't. I was just so far gone, so far lost that I just didn't want to be here anymore. Because everywhere I looked around, people seemed happy, except me. I just didn't have no space or place in the world and the relationships, as I said. Everything that I tried to lean into for hope and for a wee bit of safety was actually the thing that was causing me more torment and more problems. Because here I have 2 beautiful kids at the time. 2 beautiful kids. And I felt like I was a problem, a burden to them. I had a wife who had been there for me so many times and loved me, unbeknown to me, as to why she could love me. And I still couldn't see it, feel it, or experience it. A love from a mother who is now my role model in life. The woman is just an inspiration to me. And I just felt like a disappointment to everybody and everything. I had no enjoyment in work, no enjoyment in life, no enjoyment anywhere because it wasn't in here. And when I stepped on those scales, it was like chicken licking when the sky was falling down. That's what it felt like. And I was just knocked on my ass and diagnosed with depression. Even though I resisted, I was like, I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm not. But I knew something was at play. And so after chatting to a few different doctors, wanting to put me on antidepressants very quickly, I was like, no, give me a chance. Give me different things to do. If you give me a goal, point me in the right direction, I'll get there. But they're like, no, you need these. And one doctor, to be fair to her, the same doctor, and a funny story, she says if I get to the 13 and a half stone, she'd refer me for the tummy tuck.
Right, okay.
She didn't even refer me.
Right.
Yeah, it was an administrative error. Yeah, but it was meant to happen because what it did was it unearthed what was truly going on. And that was that I was depressed and had been for probably all my life. Because when I look back now, I was born a warrior.
What do you mean born a warrior? Sorry.
I just worried about everything. The only time that I didn't worry was when... Well, do you know why I can't even finish that sentence?
Right, okay.
I can't.
Because you can't remember a time when you
can't remember a time when I didn't worry. What I was going to say was I actually worried when I wasn't worrying about something. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And so no matter if everything was well, I was looking for the problems.
Yeah, and you're almost petrified to be content with that happiness of everything being well because you know you're waiting on something to just come along to take it all away.
Yes. You're never disappointed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it
That's
takes
right.
days, weeks, or months. You're never disappointed because that's all I was looking for. The next fight, the next bill, the next whatever it might have been. It was always the next because that's all you're waiting for. And all these beautiful moments in life were passing me by. I just couldn't take part in them. I was physically there, but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, I was on a completely different plane. And so that kind of set me off in a whole different journey. Same journey, but a completely different path of it. It was with a lot of resistance that it went on, different forms over a period of number of years of being on antidepressants. Some which didn't agree with me. Some actually made me feel a lot worse because some made me put on weight because it increased my appetite and I went back up to 17.5 stone. And it was like, Jesus Christ, here I am. I'm going to be a morbidly obese fat person again. Right. And I'm going to be now dealing with this, man. I'm not going to be able to do this. And it got to the point where it was so severe that I just didn't want to be here anymore. And I thought about it and I wanted to just end my life. And it was only for a moment of clarity that my 2 kids saved me, and they don't know this yet.
I can see it in your eyes here. I mean, yeah.
Because I don't regret it now, but at the time, the loneliness, the isolation, the just, it's a scary place to be. And there's so many people that be there, and no one knew this. No one knew this. My wife at the time knew some stuff, but I just didn't want to burden her with it all. And I'm not here to tell her story, and I'm not here to tell my kid's story, but I wasn't a positive impact on their lives, and so I thought the best option was as I wasn't here. So what I done then in my head was, if I can make as much money as I can, if I can work as much as I can and just leave them as money, they'll be happier without me. That was the narrative. And these was another set of stories then that started to play around in my head. All just reinforcing the fact that I hated myself, that I had no self-worth, and what's the point? That's the point.
And the thing about this is too, that no one's telling you that. I mean, your wife, your kids, they're not telling you that you weren't a positive impact on their lives. Your mum, your friends, and other family members aren't telling you you're a bad person. This is just all internal.
It's all
internal.
It's all in my own head. It's my own conversation. And it started though playing out in my relationships, because I started distancing myself, started going out for walks on my own and doing things in isolation, just simply because I just didn't want people to see me, because I didn't like me. And I didn't want people then to not like me either, because that would be too much for me to deal with. And for years then it became that kind of just, it just felt like you were stuck in mud. It was almost like Groundhog Day, where you were getting up and just waiting for the day to be over, just to get through, just to survive. And it just became too much that I needed just drastic change. And that's ultimately what kind of brought the end of that relationship with my wife then end, because it was either I go find some version of me somewhere, or I don't be here any longer. And it was nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
It was all in here.
And that thought, where you contemplated taking your own life, and you say the kids stopped you, the thought of the kids and others that you love stopped you, but in particular the kids. Did you attempt to take your life?
I had the plan made. I knew exactly what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And I was there to do it. It was a Sunday. And at that point, I was running gym classes. And it was with a battle rope over a boxing steel frame. And I actually seen myself there on it. It just felt real. And looking back now, it's like another bad experience. Mm-hmm. There was just there's no emotion. There was just nothing. So yeah, I can still remember sitting on the wee wooden bench in the Grosvenor Hall and looking and going, this is it. This is when all the problems go away. And I can't explain it. Call it divine intervention, call it the universe speaking. I've just no way to phrase this into words that make sense to anyone other than me, but I just felt something in my heart. And when I felt that in my heart, the image I saw was my 2 kids. Yeah. And it was like a release, like someone just kind of opened the valve and a bit of the weight went, a bit of the pressure went, and I just didn't feel as heavy in that moment. And maybe even a little bit of lightening. And from there, something was different. Can't explain what, and still can't. And I don't even want to. I just know it was different. Because there's some things in life that our brains simply just aren't meant to comprehend. You know, quantum mechanics says that anything is possible, or anything is probable is likely possible. I just lean into someone or something guided me that night. I don't need to know what it was, because here I am. And I'm so grateful and thankful to still be here, because my life is different. My life is better. Still struggle. Every day is a struggle, because I'm naturally a depressive brain. And people see me as someone who is so disciplined. Some days I just don't have a choice. Because I know the minute that I stop trying, I revert back to all that was in there.
Okay.
I still feel those thoughts. I still hear those stories. I still look in the mirror from time to time and still see that 30 stone version of that man who was so unhappy, so unloved, so lonely. He's still in there.
Although you weren't unloved, you were loved to your mum and
Unloved by me.
but yeah.
And so I wasn't in receipt of it. I've never been able to feel love until the past number of years, because I love myself, my car.
Okay.
And that's where my mantra for life is, that all relationships begin and end with the one that you have with yourself. I know I was loved. I know I was. I just didn't feel it, because I didn't give it to myself. And it was like, almost like there was a force field around me. Every time that they give me love, it just bounced straight back. Whereas now, I had to come in, because it's in here. And that's what I want to live my life by. That's the exchange of currency that I want to live my life by, as hippy dippy as it sounds.
It doesn't at all.
Through good acts and kindness and love, rather than fucking exchanges of service for money, because the world's just a different place. But at that time, I just didn't know what love was. I wouldn't have been able to tell. I would have been able to tell you about it from reading poems, watching films, reading books. But to tell you what it felt like, I just wouldn't have been able to do it.
I know you said you were a natural born warrior, but the self-loathing and the looking in the mirror and just seeing this 30 stone, do you think that all just goes back to that bullying element of your childhood? I mean, we hear that bullying does make a huge impact on one's life later on down the line, but do you think that's what was one of the biggest contributors to your self-loathing and hatred of yourself?
At the time, maybe yes, but not now.
Okay.
Because nothing compares to the way I treated myself.
Okay.
Nothing. There's nothing no one could have said or could have done that I didn't already say to myself tenfold, or thought about myself exponentially. So to get ahead of it, and people who again are a similar type of experience, one of the things that you do to take away bullying, the power of it, is you make a fool of yourself. You take away their power by saying, getting it all out. So you do. You take away their ammunition by acknowledging your fatness, your limits, and stuff like that. Still hurts. The words still cut deep, but they're not as deep as what way you're speaking to yourself. And that's ultimately, for me anyway, what every human being experiences. The way I see relationships either enhance us or inhibit us, but that depends on the relationship you have with yourself. And relationships that inhibit us, if you allow them to inhibit you, it's because you're already inhibiting the way you're thinking about yourself. And when you're in such a negative space and a negative frame of mind and a unsafe space in your being, it's because it's been created from in here and felt in here. And you'll speak to yourself in ways that you wouldn't even speak to your worst enemy. You wouldn't write it down on paper. And so it didn't matter, the bullying. The bullying only kind of, I suppose, put the nail in the coffin. But I put myself in the coffin, because what they were saying was nothing in comparison to what I was telling myself and what I believed about myself. So it wasn't just a feeling, it became something stronger. It became a belief that I am this unlovable, unlikable fat. People just felt sorry for me. That was my narrative for life. That was how I made sense of my relationships. These people feel sorry for me.
But just before we move on, if there is someone listening to this, or there's someone knows someone listening to this that is going through bullying, what would you recommend they do? And that bullying can come in different
Oh,
forms.
so, and especially in this day and age, there's just no hiding place from it. At least when I was younger, we didn't have phones.
Yeah.
So it stopped when you went in home. There was a sanctuary there somewhere, but now with social media, there's just no escape. It's just talk. It's not weak to feel vulnerable. In fact, for me, strength begins at the very moment that you allow yourself to be vulnerable. And you have to do that with people that you trust. And you have to first trust yourself. You have to be able to acknowledge that you're human. And here's the thing about bullies. One, they've likely experienced it themselves, so they know firsthand what it's like. And so they go one of two ways. They try and prevent it, or they become it. And the way I like to look at human beings, to see the good in people, is that we're all human, we're all flawed, but there's good in every single one of us. And in those moments, people are bullying. What I would learn to do now is give them empathy. But if this is a young person that they don't even know what empathy is, they won't even be able to understand their emotions. So what I would say is just talk. Don't keep it in. Don't bottle it up. It isn't weak to talk about your feelings. It isn't weak for you to acknowledge that you are struggling. That's strength. In that very moment, that's when you truly and wonderfully become strong, because we all go through this. We all go through it in different ways. Our struggles are look differently, feel differently, but we all struggle. And the thing about struggles is we don't always have to carry the weight, and we don't always have to carry it alone. And a problem shared becomes a problem halved. And so if you talk about it, someone can just take that pressure from you in that moment and just make you feel safe in that moment. And you take away the power of bullies when you stop letting their words hurt. When you reclaim your power by seeing you for who you are, for the strength that you have from allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is the beginning of strength.
Thanks, Thomas, for that. Actually, appreciate that. And yeah, again, we just meant that we would echo. If anybody's going through bullying of any form, whether it be at school, whether it be in the workplace, wherever it may be, please, as Thomas has just said there, just please reach out for help, because there is help out there. But so, Thomas, just move forward a wee bit. Step back from the brink. So, what was your journey then after that?
Well, it became different tablets, different strategies, counselling, number of different counselling, talk therapies, CBT, counselling, couples counselling stuff. Tried it all, and nothing was working because it just felt like, fuck, I can't even make this work. Um, and I kept up going to the gym, still having no real love for it. It was just now more habit, but wouldn't even consider it a good habit. It was just something you have to do. Um, so I kind of just trundled through the next phase of life, not really having a purpose. Still went to work, still showed up, still played, because that's what I'm good at doing. Was good at doing, playing the roles. But I did start reading, started learning, started trying new things. Things that if you'd have told me 12 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, that I'd be teaching now as part of my daily practices, a part of what I do, I'd have went, no, you are mental. Because it was just woo woo, like meditation, mindfulness, breathing. What the fuck? Like, what's this all about? And I started just exploring with an open mind. And as I said, I've always considered myself to be intelligent, but what I was very fixed in my mindset. What I knew. And anything different was just, I didn't need to know. So I became almost insatiable to learning, reading, experience. And it just so happened that coined with going to, again, the Maury Sheenan Centre and the counsellor in there. And it was our fifth session of a 6 week block. Now, bear in mind, I know kind of counselling services are really, really under resourced and under pressure, and you're kind of given this almost generic 6 weeks. But I was told if it takes longer than 6 weeks, it takes longer than 6 weeks. But I had been separated from my wife then for a period of time, and it was the guy, Jim, said to me, "You realise you're going through grief at this point in your life. You're going through grief, not only from your relationship, but you're grieving someone who you've never ever met or known. You've never known yourself. And it was just like a boom. My mind just opened up. I was like, I don't know who I am. And for the first time ever, card, I think I pressed pause on everything else and put myself first. And it was strange. It was really, really uniquely strange. Stopped saying yes to everybody at their first request and started doing things for me and started carving out time for me. And as I said, started learning new practices and an absolute fortune. Just buying course after course for like, when I look back now, I go, Jesus Christ, what you could have done with that money. But it was all in the search of becoming a better person, finding myself and all the cliches. But I just, I just started pursuing something else, but at breakneck speed, and put so much pressure on it that it became just too pressurized. It just became unattainable to keep going at that pace. So here's another thing I'd failed at. But I'd taken a lot of lessons from there, and I was like, I'm an intelligent person. I'm good at working with people. I'm good at building relationships. From all my experience of youth work and working with people, one thing that I'm good at doing is building relationships. Now, relationships that weren't necessarily based on honesty, because I wasn't being honest in them, but I was still good at doing. Now, imagine I could be me in these relationships. And then just something, another thing clicked. It was like the fog was starting to lift. I was like, I could develop something here because I have a bit of a creative brain. When the space was there, and that's when I started then designing the change program. That's when I started going, right, there's something in this, because by this point I started working with adults, because I was a youth worker for the majority of my working life, and I love working with young people even though they're little fuckwits. It's a term of endearment that I use. Anybody who I call a fuckwit in life means that I have care for you.
Then I hope I get called a yeah, okay.
Oh, look, it's when I started learning about how the brain works and it understood the adolescent brain. Here I am working in a youth club 4 nights a week with sometimes up to 50 kids a night. And the adolescent brain is designed to push boundaries, to not listen, to rebel, to figure out stuff as it goes. And I was starting to go, I'm a shit youth worker because I'm helping one or two kids here or there, but all the rest of them are just, nothing's happening. Now, again, you can look at resourcing and funding, you're always struggling against those things. But with a bit of more perspective, a bit more learning, I started realizing that I'm in no position to help these kids consistently. I needed to change tact. And thankfully, my boss allowed me at the time in Grosvenor to start working then with adults. Because for an adolescent brain to fully be nurtured, it needs the right environment consistently. And what better environment than the parents to create that? Because they're the primary educators, the primary caregivers, and the ones that are basically there to wipe their noses. And so I tried then to get adult engagement, and that's when I started changing tact. And I was like, how do I now completely go from working with young people to working with adults? And there's a certain degree of insecurity that comes with that there, because now you're working with your peers, people who you grew up with, and here you are now trying to help them. And it's not the parent, never tell anyone how to parent. It's the hardest job in the world, and everybody does it differently because everybody's different, every kid's different. You just can't tell people how to parent. But hard to set an example, not through their words, through their actions. And then that's when I kind of started looking at different strategies, different mechanisms, things that I learned in university, how do I apply this? And I was like, this doesn't work. You can't take a university level theory and just give it to someone from a working class area who's probably dropped out of school at third year. There had to be some sort of transition. There had to be some sort of exposure gently to it. And that's when I then started putting the kind of initial pieces of the change program together. And one of the things that I soon discovered, even though we've all known it, anyone who works in the community will tell you, hand on heart, people who work in the community are just salt of the earth, good people, but they're just pushing boulders up hills. And they become burnt out, fatigued, overworked, under resourced, underappreciated, and all of those things that just kind of give you that place where you get to and go, what the fuck's the point? But the one thing that's consistent for everybody who works with other people is you're given time frames from powers that be on high that say you need to do this amount of work in this amount of time, and this is what we're expecting in return for giving you this money to do this. And that's not how change takes place. How long have you been on your journey, Car?
Officially, probably from late 2024, but to be honest with you, my journey probably started. In fact, not probably. I know it started when I was a child.
Your whole life. And these funders, these people who don't even work with these people, are trying to tell us who do how to do our jobs. So not tell us what to do, but also tell us how to do it and the time frame in which to be done by. And I just couldn't reconcile that any longer. It just didn't make sense. Because I was now starting to compare this to me. Because as I said, I was someone who would have considered myself smart enough. Definitely wasn't aware enough at the time, but was capable. And I'm struggling like fuck. I'm in the deep waters here, my own personal life. This isn't going to take 6 weeks, 12 weeks, even 2 years. And that's like if you get 2 years in a community post or a program, Jesus, you've won the lottery almost. We're doing programs at 6 weeks or 12 weeks, and I was like, how do I get a young person from point A to point B with an exit strategy already? Like, you're talking about exit strategies before the process has even began. It just doesn't make sense anywhere. So I was like, for this to work, there has to be consistency. Because for me now, consistency is the key to success. Any success, depending on what your definition of success is, it's about trial and error. It's about learning and relearning and unlearning. It's about making mistakes so that you can go again. It's about fucking up so that you know how to do it better the next time. But you don't get that opportunity when you're kind of working against deadlines, when you're working against funding outcomes, when you're working against all of these things that are set from people who have no place in your organization. And that's what I realized is that I no longer had a place in the community with this program because not in the community, but as in the community kind of parameters, this needs time. People need time because we're trying to unpick and unpack years of experiences, years of internal dialogue that has likely always been negative, years of I don't like to delve around this too much because I think there's a lot of people out there traumas.
Mm-hmm.
For me, in my personal life, where I'm able to say this now, Car, after years of practice and years of work, my traumas for me are the best thing that's ever happened to me because they prepare me for a future in which I will be not afraid. If I can overcome that, anything that happened to me, the bullying and everything else that's went in between, if I can overcome that as a young person with no skills, with no tools being equipped to deal with it, what have I got to worry about the future? I've done all that hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So those traumas have actually given me the freedom here presently to look forward to my future with excitement, with positive anticipation, rather than anticipatory anxiety. So that has been the very thing to free me. But however, if you're still in the midst of unpacking all that and dealing all that, it's not easy to say it. I couldn't have said that 8 years ago because I was still going through it. And I still do go through it, but I go through it in a completely different way now. And that's why I was a wee bit reluctant to maybe come on and talk about this because this is years of work and this is what our program offers. It's consistency. You see, you won't be able to unpack all things at once. It's little gentle exposures, a little bit of exposure therapy, a little bit of experiential learning, a little bit of confidence building, and all of these things that are encapsulated in our program that allow you to ultimately find your path to be the best version of you. As cliche as that sounds, as mimetic as that sounds, ultimately that's what it's about. The way I like to explain this, Carl, in a world of over 8 billion people, 8 billion people, there's one person like you, just one, who thinks like you, feels like you, talks like you, and is you. And we spend so much time comparing ourselves to everyone else. And we don't compare ourselves to the people behind who are worse off. No, we compare ourselves to the people who are maybe doing a podcast who have more viewers or more engagements and stuff like that there. But there's one card. So be him. And be him to the best of your ability.
Before coming on to the change program and the work there, Thomas, I want to pick up on something you said actually, and it's as someone from West Belfast and somebody sitting here from East Belfast, both working class areas. Why do you think that one of the biggest killers in Northern Ireland for males under 50 is suicide, particularly in working class areas? Is it going back to that intergenerational stiff upper lip and you don't talk about it? Or do you think it's something else? And do you think things are changing?
Unfortunately, we'll start at the end. I don't think things are changing. I think things are getting drastically worse
Okay.
for a number of different reasons. You can look at then the NHS and the access to services, the amount of people who are now presenting with mental health illnesses and mental health conditions.
Although to flip that though, is that because there's more of awareness and there's more work being done to allow people to come forward?
I would like to take, so that's what I was going to go to. I would like to take that frame, and then hopefully now there's an environment where more and more, especially young men, feel confident, as I say, not to see their mental health as something that should be feeling weak about, but something that we all have. See, this is the problem. I think there's a misconception about what mental health is. We're not afraid to work on our physical health, but when it comes to mental health, there's almost a taboo about it. There's almost a don't talk about that. If you don't talk about it, it's not real. And that's almost what you're taught then.
Yeah.
That's a paradigm to the role of being a young man in these working class areas. You have to be a tough boy. You have to have a set of balls. Colloquialisms like man up, grow a set of balls, big boys don't cry. All of those things, they resonate. And a person, I know that because I felt that. Maybe if I had a different experience where I could have talked, maybe my problems might have been different. But I think now there's more pressure on young people. There's more exposure. Social media is something that I really, really struggle with myself. As I said, like when I was a victim of bullying, I could have went home. Now, there's no escape because people are attached to their phones, and that's where a lot of it takes place from people who we don't even see, don't even know. Everyone's a potential target. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's exponentially getting worse. Yes, I also like to take a glass half full approach and go more and more people are aware of it, more and more people want to talk about it. We can go down a whole societal route here, Carl, and maybe can offer a bit of a tangent. More and more people want to do it to get their benefits. That's what society tells us. The worse off that you are, the more help you're going to get from the state. Rather than going, you have a condition, we're going to support you, go to work, but we're not going to stop all of your benefits straight away. We're going to help you become the best for it. No, no, no. The minute that you show a wee bit of industry, a wee bit of agency about yourself, your benefits are stopped. So why would anyone have the incentive to get off their ass and go and make their lives better? So it makes sense for us to want to sit and watch Jeremy Kyle with a digestive biscuit at 10 o'clock in the morning when it serves us better as a society and an individual, more importantly, to begin with, to get out and have a purpose. But no, so there's a number of different culminating factors here. So there is, I just feel that society's a wee bit clusterfucked at the minute. And we as good human beings like to blame. We like to find fault rather than find solutions. And this is why I decided to come on to this, because if this, my story or my experience or something I say else helps one other person, then the world's a better place for it. The world's a better. And that's why I love people like yourself, Cart, doing this type of thing, being brave enough to put yourself out there do you know what? We may not change the world, but if we can help one person change theirs, then the world's a better place for it.
Totally agree.
And so to answer your question, I don't think you're going to be able to pinpoint, and I don't think you're going to be able to close that kind of stable now. The horse is well and truly bolted. But what I think we all have a responsibility to do, all of us collectively as a society, is help one another. We're all human beings. My life is as good as it's ever been, but I still struggle. I still need help. I can't play this game of life alone, nor do I want to. And so I will still need these services. I will still need to lean on people who are more experienced and more knowledgeable than me. I will also need to be in a position to be able to help others because that sustains me. So we need to be interdependently linked to one another. But what I find is that society is becoming this polarized place in which to live. If you're not one of them, you're one of us. If you're one of us, you're not one of. And it all starts with being humans first. We're all beings. We're all different. We all think differently, feel differently, and we just don't create the space enough to allow that to come into fruition. And that's why I try to create the change program in a community where like-minded people can come together to work on themselves with the view to bring it back into their house, the pay it forward method, the ripple effect. So I become the best version of me. So let's look at it from the point of view of if I'm the best version of Thomas Walls, not the roles that I play, but just me as a person. So every role that I play by extension, a coach, I'm going to be a better coach because I'm a better version of me. A father, I'm going to be a better father because I'm a better version of me. Boyfriend, I'm going to be a better boyfriend. And those roles then will keep going. Everything that I do in my life beyond being me is enhanced when I prioritize my health and my well-being. But I don't have all the answers, and I don't claim to. But there's people then who do, who can help me for my shortcomings and my shortfalls. But what's the one thing? Then we'll go back to the mental health bit. We're afraid to ask for help. We're afraid to show our weaknesses because people want to exploit that. That's not a society in which I want to live, Carl. I don't know about you. My daughter's
No.
11, so she is. I want to try my best to leave this world in a better place in which I found it. I might never get to see that, but if I can just play a small role in getting people to just shift their mindsets in their lives, then in their families' lives, what's to say that we can't be the tide of change? What's to say that we have to keep another factor pushing down this generational trauma, this generational conflict that we grew up in, the troubles? I was delivering a workshop on Wednesday and there was a girl, 35, and she said she was talking to her kids about the troubles and stuff like that, and their kids are going, "Aye, but you grew up in the troubles," and she went, "No, I didn't." And there was a whole big family debate. This thing's still real, this thing's still alive, and totally understandably, because you see it on the news. It's still being contested. These are the ways in which we live life. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, that's just life as we know it. And we have to find a way to navigate this together. Do you know, you grew up in East Belfast, likelihood is you're a Protestant. I grew up in the Falls, West Belfast, likelihood is I'm a Catholic. Before I can play the role of a Protestant or a Catholic, I have to be me. To know what that means, and to be me means then that I can be a Catholic but still accept you for being Protestant, and you can accept me for being Catholic. But that's not what we do, because we live in a society which is divided and contested, because I think separation is what keeps us from growing. And what I want to do is bring closeness, togetherness, so that we can each help one another. I often listen to stories, and one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given, Carl, was never only work with your peers, work with people older and work with people younger. And I love working with people older than me. One, their mindset's completely. I train about 4 or 5 women in their 60s, and it's like, if I could just take your mindset and bottle it and sell it, I could work for one more year and retire. It is phenomenal. It's like, I'm going to give it a go. Now, that comes with wisdom, that comes with experience, that comes with age. You kind of have to cultivate that. But I see these people and I go, they have so much to give, so much learning. And in different societies and different cultures, they see their elders as wisdom is. Mm-hmm. We see our elders as fragile and as a burden. If we just start looking at things through a different lens, why, like, this is the bits that I can't wrap my head around. It's like, we're on this mission to make our lives harder for ourselves than what it needs to be. Now, what I do know, what I do believe, maybe not what I do know, I don't believe anybody intentionally wakes up in the morning and goes, "Do you know what? I'm going to go out and just fuck my day up. I'm going to make nothing but bad choices. I'm going to end this day full of regrets because that's what I love." No one does that. We find our way to that because of habits, because of the stories, because of relationships. We can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but I don't think anyone wakes up with the intention. And the reason being, and this is where then I kind of studied more, is because we're asleep. We're acting on autopilot. We're repeating the same cycles day after day, week after week. It's because people are living without purpose. People are living without passion. People are just happy to get through. The way I was, wake up in the morning, can't wait for this day to be over. Like, what way is that to live? That's not living, that's survival. And our brain loves that, card. Our brain loves survival mode. Do you know why? It can deal with it. It can deal with it because there's no unknown. Everything's predictable. Everything's autopilot. Everything's rehearsed. Everything already is known. The outcome or the consequences is fine because it can deal with it. What your brain doesn't like is the unknown. And when our brains don't like it as individuals, the societal brain, the collective mindset, it doesn't like it. Because just imagine, Catholicism and Protestantism were no more an issue. Racism was no more an issue. Sexism and all of these isms were no longer issues. And we just seen each other for people. Fucking hell, what a world. But then what happens is the status quo changes. Now, I may be going down the conspiracy theorist right up, no conspiracy theorist, I'm a realist. But I look at life from a lens of, Why does it have to be so difficult? Why does it have to be? Why do we have to make it so challenging for ourselves? Now, we need a wee challenge. We need the stress to get better. We do. Stress is a good thing in the right amounts. We do need those challenges so that we can keep persevering and keep getting
Yeah.
stronger. But, I mean, the things that we're talking about here, these are man-made problems.
Mhm. Now, going from your own description, the morbidly obese Thomas Walls to gym instructor,
Coach.
gym coach, and the change program. So tell us a bit more about that.
So, the way I work with people is I see them as people, as a person, as a being. So it's a well-being. And that's my ultimate goal is it's to treat all four aspects equally: physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. As I said to you, if you told me this 15 years ago, Carl, I'd be like, no, Carl, I'm sorry. I'm not taking what you're selling. But yeah, that's essentially what we are. And that's what I try and offer. And it's offered in different ways, at different speeds, at different intensities. The gym is one of the best things that everybody should be doing. The reason is whether you like it or not, your body needs it. Your body needs resistance in order to become strong. You see, every human being meets the point of degeneration. The point where our body will not recover the same way they did when we were in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. Testosterone falls off. Estrogen for a woman falls off. So all the things hormonally that we cultivate over life are no longer there in abundance. And so our bodies then are ready for the knacker's yard. Simple little things of walking to the shop, walking up the stairs. Your mobility goes. When your mobility goes, your confidence goes. One of the biggest contributors to early age deaths is falls in the elderly, especially women, because of osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, because women don't like to lift weights. Women are more into cardio because they think sweat equals weight loss. And so when I started this program, it started off as a kind of a circuit based class for
How long has
kids
it
and
been
their
going?
mummies. I started back in Grosvenor, Jesus, about 18 years ago, 19 years ago. As it was like a wee initiative. We got a wee bit of funding to do a program for the kids and their mummies. And through the kids being kids, they fell off, the mummy stayed. And then that's when the kind of program began in earnest for women. And so it just kind of grew from there. They started bringing friends and stuff like that there. And then the program grew from there because, as I said, I was on a personal journey, and every coach brings in their own experience to what they coach. So I was starting to bring in the mental side of stuff, the spiritual side of stuff, the emotional side of stuff.
When you say spiritual, what do you mean by spiritual? People, because I think when people say spiritual, I think religion. So what do you mean when you say spiritual?
For me, this is spiritual. Right now, there's a connection here. It's two human beings talking about something that's important. Right now, you're not distracted. I'm not distracted. We're coherently connected. We're sharing energy. We're sharing ideas. We're sharing. Or I'm doing most of the talking. That's the setup, I think.
It is. It is.
But for me, this is spirituality. Going for a walk in nature, spirit. Anywhere that brings you peace, contentment, in a moment. For me, that's spirituality. There is that natural assumption that spirituality means religion, and if that's your spiritual connectedness, religion, go for it. The reason I don't practice religion is because it becomes divisive. The minute I identify as a Protestant or a Catholic or a Muslim or anything or an atheist, it instantly isolates me and gives me a difference of something else. So I see myself as someone who's spiritual. I see you. That's what I love about the film Avatar. And they say,
Never seen it.
oh, you're missing out in life, Carl. You haven't lived. You haven't lived. But in it, they go, I see you. Not the role, not the chief or the matriarch. They see the person. And that's the way I like to look at people. I try and see the person. And the first thing I try and see in the person is the potential and the good. Their actions may dictate something different later on down the line, but I like to start with a glass half full rather than the glass already half empty. Because then you're giving yourself a chance, you're giving that person a chance. So that's the way I kind of like to look at this, is that if we attend all parts equally, then overall you're a better, more balanced well-being. Because if the spiritual bit's off, all the other bits are going to take a hit. Now, it's easy for us to look at the metrics of going to the gym. You can count how many sessions you do, you can count how many calories you burn, you can count what you weigh, you can count what you lift, you can count all of the reps and everything else. How do you learn how to count the moments of happiness, Carl, in your life? The moments of meaning, the moments of connectedness. You see, this is what makes us human beings uniquely different from every other mammal in the world. Well, most other mammals is our connectedness, our ability to communicate without even speaking. A simple look can connect two human beings in ways that just simply cannot be explained. That makes us spiritual beings, and that's not something we pay attention to. We're more interested in how we look rather than how we feel, how we present ourselves to the outside world rather than what's going on in our internal world. And it took me to go through all the stuff that I've went through to completely understand that. And that's why I don't regret it.
Okay.
Because it's got me to this point where I can share this information and try and open the doors to help others. That's what I see myself as. So when you ask me what am I see myself as an opportunity creator. I have never been able to help one other human being in this world. Now, people listening to this will go, he's helped me, because I'm going to share this to all the people that I work with. But the truth is I create opportunities for people to help themselves. I have never been able to help one other human being because I'm not them. I don't live their stories. I haven't lived their experiences. I haven't walked one step in their shoes. All I do is help them and see themselves in the best possible light until they see it for themselves.
So you're helping them then? You've just said it. You help them.
Not directly. They do the work themselves. I create opportunities.
Okay.
I create opportunities. That's it. This may come across as well, he's just being humble and playing.
No.
It's how I see it. Because there's no one on this earth has helped me until I was able to help myself. People have guided me. People have taught me. So indirectly, they have helped. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
They have shaped me.
100%.
But I've done all the work.
Okay.
I deserve all the credit for where I am today. I'm so thankful and grateful for everybody along the way. I don't want that to come across as conceited and egotistical. That's not what I'm saying.
Do you know what? You've actually just hit on something there, Thomas, that I think is a huge problem in Northern Ireland, and the whole societal stuff of, see, if you're praising yourself, you're being egotistical, you're being arrogant.
Yeah.
We're actually a bit of self-praise, or a lot of self-praise, is a huge thing actually. But we're scared to do it because we're scared of being labelled egotistical, full of himself, full of herself, whatever. Listen to your man. Who do you think he is?
Well, if he's a bar of chocolate, he'd eat himself.
Totally.
All of those
What
things.
I mean? So you've actually just touched on something there that is a huge problem, where more people should be able to come out and say what you've just said.
And I do firmly believe that, but humility is one of the things that I practice every day because you can't believe your own hype. You can't become egotistical. We all have an ego. And it's very easy to get lost in that. But it's also very easy to get hurt by it because then people walk away with your life. You won't always win. You won't always succeed. So it's not me playing small. I know I'm good at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I know I'm good at it is because I give a fuck, Carl. If I wasn't able to do what I would do today, tomorrow, I don't know what my life's purpose would be. I'm put on this earth to help and work with other people. Now, definition of help can be different for everyone.
Yeah.
I like to see myself as creating opportunities for people to help themselves. Because here's the reason: you teach a man to fish, they'll fish for the rest of their lives. You give a man a fish, they'll eat for a day. I can't tell anyone what to do. I will never say you should do this. All I ever say is, have you thought about it this way? Have you looked at it from this differently? If you can help someone think differently, what you're doing is you're going to help someone feel differently. And most importantly, and this is the key, hopefully you're going to help someone act differently. You see, it's in our actions that we neurologically change our brain, that we start forming new habits, new patterns through the principles of neuroscience. The more we practice something, the more progress we're going to make. And that works both ways. If you practice procrastination, you're going to be the best procrastinator you know. If you practice self-doubt, you will be the best at doubting yourself. If you practice self-loathing, all the things that I practiced, unbeknown to me, was all the things that I was good at. Mm-hmm. It didn't serve me. And so that's why I said to you, like, I have a naturally depressive brain because of all of those years of practice. So now I practice something different. I don't get a day off. I don't want a day off because my life is too important and too valuable to me. It's because I love what I do. How I do it, different story. We'll not delve into that. But I absolutely love what I do. Some days are harder than others because some days it's harder to be me than others. But when you work with people, like-minded people who get you, who know you, they give you the space to be humble. They give you the space to be down. They give you the space. Do you know why? They'll help you get up. They will help you get up. And that's what I don't see this as the coach and I know all. These people help me more than they realize. This community that I've helped establish and create hasn't been done by me alone. It's been the people involved in it. Because they're bringing friends, they're bringing family, they're bringing this will be good for this one, this will be good for this one.
So how do people become part of that community? And change.
Well, we are on social media, and if the guy who does my social media now is watching this, he'd probably go, "You're a fucking bastard," because I've been avoiding him and ignoring him. Because, as I said, I do have a like relationship with social media. I see the value of it for things like this, but I also see the detriment of it for just even people spend so much time on it.
Yeah,
Saying I
yeah.
don't have the time to go to the gym or go for a walk or cook a healthy meal, all of those things. But we'll not delve into that too deeply. But yes, we're the Change Wellness programs on social media. I think I get myself up here. I think my name is Tal Walls, the Change Coach.
Okay.
That was set up for me a while back, and every now and again I take this wee kind of delve into it and do wee TikTok videos, and then I come off and go, "Oh, why am I doing that? I really don't like it."
But you have a website.
A website.
What's the website address?
www.learningtochange.co.uk.
Learningtochange.co.uk.
Yeah.
Okay, no
Probably
problem.
on the spot there, card. But yeah, that's how people. But basically, I do it old school. If you want to get in contact, send me a nice little email, and then you get my phone number because I like talking to people.
All right.
Because the thing about it is, card is I'm not for everyone, and our program isn't for everyone. It depends on where you are and the readiness for you to change. That's the first question I asked: is how much do you want this? Because I may come across as one way, but one thing that I'm as consistent pain in your hole. The reason being, as I said to you, I won't give up on you. If you're in my life, I give a fuck. And I will give a fuck until you stop giving less. And the minute you give less, I give less. Because that's how relationships work.
Yeah.
It has to be mutually beneficial, or else there's an imbalance. So if I'm always chasing and you're always running, I'm going to get tired. So I'll meet you where you are. And together we grow.
Now, I was on your site. So as a fella sitting here, it looks as though a lot of women, but you cater for both women and men.
Ideally, I would love to work with more men.
Okay.
Men don't like to talk about their emotions.
Okay. Okay.
Men don't like to train how I train. Men don't like to deal with things in the way I like to deal with. And as I said, a coach coaches how he coaches. I can't coach Hyrox. I can't coach marathon running because I don't do those things. I coach what I know. I coach what I'm qualified in and what I'm experienced in. It would be foolish of me to do something else. I could coach a man to get strong. 100. I know the dynamics and the physiology principles of how to build strength, build muscle, whatever that may be. I want to build people. Everything else is a bonus. How I learned how to change my life and how I learned how to change my relationship with weight and with everything else was becoming a well-being first. If I'm the best well-being version of Thomas Walls, I will be a healthy weight. I don't need to worry about the number. I will make responsible choices when it comes to my nutrition, my sleep. I will prioritize my health and well-being. You see, I had this in reverse order. I chased the weight. And I dare anyone and come on and comment, and you can be the first person to prove me wrong. Just trying to get you a couple of interactions.
Appreciate that, actually. I really do appreciate that. Trust me.
Anyone who's ever found happiness in a number, whether it's weight, you'll always want less. If it's money, you'll always want more. You're never happy with a number. Because happiness isn't something that can be measured. As I said to you, you can count how many times you've went to the gym, you can count how many miles you've run, much weight you've lost, how many inches you've lost. Tell me how many times you smiled this week, Carl.
Couldn't tell you.
Tell me how many times you felt happiness.
Oh, none.
Why am I not counting that? Why are we not learning how to develop that? That's more important than any other metric, for me anyway. And that's why men don't want to train with me. Because when I say to a man, don't count your reps, count how many times you found meaning. Count how many times you found love. Because men have feelings too, believe it or not. Men love too, believe it or not. We just hate it. And we display it in different ways. That's why men don't want to work with me. And it is largely a women's based program. And no offense if there is any male watchers, women run households. Largely speaking, women run households. If a woman changes the environment, the whole environment changes.
Well, actually, on your site, you actually do say, especially women
Yeah.
lose their way. What do you mean by that? Women lose their way, especially women lose their way?
Well, every woman I've worked with the exception of none. So this is just from direct experience. Yeah. Every workshop I've delivered, and I've delivered workshops to over 500 women, and that's a conservative number. Every one of them says they get to a certain point in life where they just feel lost, feel stuck. Think about it. A woman becomes a parent and their whole life revolves around those kids. Even if a woman doesn't have a kid, The whole narrative of their formative years is you grow up, you have 2.4 children by this age, you should be married by this age, you should have a job that looks like this. So in the absence of that, they feel lost. They feel avoid if they don't have kids. Women are being socially conditioned for such a long period of time to behave and act in a certain way, and their roles are more important than them. We're also then reaffirmed this by the servitude of others is more important by the servitude of yourself first, because to put yourself first is to be selfish. Well, how fucking wrong can that be? Because here's these women taking care of everyone else and everything else and neglecting themselves. And for any woman listening to this, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Is there not times in your life where you've went, I'll get round to me when everything else is done? And that's what happens. And this is when women become unhappy. This is when women get stuck. This is when women lose their way. Because what happens in the brain is the emotional brain is developed from conception. The prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking brain, doesn't fully develop till we're 25. And then you've about 10 years to figure out the fuck what's going on. And it's after that period, between the ages of about 30, 40, about 40, women start going, is this my life? I was in a rush to have these kids. For what? And then women go, what about me? Then there's things like empty nest syndrome and stuff like that there. Now, it doesn't mean they stop playing the role of mother, but they forget to play the role of themselves.
What was that syndrome? Sorry.
Empty nest syndrome. When
What is that?
kids leave the house,
Right,
like
okay.
and they're off around the world and university and stuff like that. There, women then lose their purpose because they see their sole role in life is to take care of their offspring. And biologically, there's a large degree of truth in that. But we're more than just biological animals. We're social animals. We're emotional beings. And that's all the premise and purpose of what I try and get women to do. And the keynote to that is for any woman who's going, what the fuck do you know? You're not a woman. Well, I'm not. But it's about moments. You see, life is about moments. You see, not everyone's life has been hard from minute one till this minute. There's been moments of good. You might not be able to recall it very easily, but there has been moments of good in your life. But moments of change takes place in moments. It's when a woman decides, you know what, see, today, here's what I'm doing for me. And here's the beautiful thing that happens. When a woman becomes her biggest supporter, becomes selfish, every other relationship in her life is improved because you get the best version of her. They've just forgot how to put themselves first. They forgot that they were someone before they became a wife, a girlfriend, a sister, a mother, whatever it may be, a worker. Before all these roles found their ways into their lives, they forgot how to be themselves. That's why women become stuck, especially women. Men, we have the usual kind of, you go to work.
Provide.
You provide. You're the breadwinner. You provide safety. You provide shelter. Oh, take a woman back to the cave and do whatever. These are the societal roles in which we don't question, don't think about. And then it finds its way to each and every single person at some point. And thankfully, I've seen so many women change their lives simply by putting themselves first in moments.
But for the men who've also been through your program, and there has been,
Yeah.
Have you seen that in them as well, actually?
Have done.
Yeah.
I've worked with a recovering addict. I've worked with husbands of some of the wives that I've had, and that's just beautiful. When they're able to talk about the same thing, the collective mindset. Oh, there's nothing as good when the mindset's collective. It is just absolutely wonderful because it just raises the energy level. Because that could be the biggest thing to change. It's fear of the other person. We shouldn't be afraid. You see, why, if we're in any type of relationship, be it friend, be it brother, be it whatever, why should I be afraid of you becoming a better version? You're going to raise me up. You're going to give me more of you. You're going to help me better. But no, what we do is we highlight the fears and insecurities and the insignificance that we hold in ourselves. And it brings me back to the point I've said a couple of times already. Every relationship begins and ends with the one that you have with yourself. So if you're feeling less than ideal about yourself and someone else is getting a better relationship with themselves, you feel the fear. And then you try and bring them back down to your level. We should be lifting every one of ourselves up. Because if you get up there, you could be helping me get up to your level rather than me pulling you back down to mine, because then we're all struggling.
You have a quote on your site where it says, just on that note, change doesn't happen for you, it happens by you.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what your mantra is in terms of being a better version of yourself. But you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the effort. And if you start putting the effort and work into your own mental well-being as much as you do, whether it be the physical, whether it be your family life, whether it be your work life, your social life, if you put as much effort into you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what a difference that would make.
Your well-being.
Yeah.
A balanced well-being. You show up in life as yourself, unapologetically, and it goes back to what it is that you said there. Maybe then we wouldn't be so afraid to be proud, so afraid to go, you know what, I'm actually doing okay. I'm actually doing well. And what happens is that then maybe just maybe we turn that tide and go, how did you do that? I want to know more because that looks good on you. I would love that to look the same way on me. But we don't live in that way, unfortunately, Carl. I'm not going to finish this with a glass half empty approach. It's so easy to do. We could sit here and talk
Totally.
about all the things that go wrong, but listen, that's easy to do because our brains naturally gravitate towards that. The automatic negative thoughts that we all have, and we all have them. Up to they're saying 90,000 automatic negative thoughts a day. Carl, that's what we're up against. Every one of us. The I can't, I won't, I don't have the time, and all of this, that, and the other. Those are the things that create the resistance for us to get in the way. Here's something I discovered in the past couple of weeks. I've known it, but I've kind of just, this is what I love about life. You find things out that you've always known at different points, and it makes so much different meaning. Think about how our brain works. It perceives things that it doesn't know as fear. You said to me, Carl, and I hope I'm not breaking your trust, so please don't shout at me. I couldn't go to the gym.
Yeah.
Why could you not go to the gym?
Honestly, because of confidence, of, again, very similar to what you said around about, when I look at myself, I don't like what I see.
Yeah. Fear.
In all honesty.
So if we take away all of the kind of fluffy stuff around it all, I'm not saying it's fluffy, but what I mean is fear is preventing you from going to the gym. Now, rationally, there's two men talking to each other. Is going to the gym going to help you?
Yeah, rationally, yeah.
So what's holding you back? Fear.
Me.
So your brain sees your health and well-being as something to be afraid of. Think about that. Your brain sees you becoming better as something to fear. And that's the life in which we live, Carl.
So because I'm not paying you to come on here, you're trying to get me as a client. That's fair enough, Thomas. That's all right.
Do you know what, Carl? Here's the thing. When I said I love what I do, but not how I do it, I am the worst business person ever. I would offer you free sessions because I do not like exchanging my service in exchange for money, and that's the truth.
There is a challenge and a half, folks. If you want me to see me in a gym, Thomas has offered me a free session. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see your comments and stuff on that one. But Thomas, just I would love to end on a positive. Give people hope. What positive could you end on?
The big open-ended question there, Carl.
Because for me, sitting here, the biggest positive and hope is the guy sitting opposite me.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for
I'm
that.
just being honest, it is. It's the person sitting opposite me.
What I would say is it's always darkest before it's dawn. And we all have to go through those dark moments. And we are designed by nature to go through some of the toughest things that have brought us to our knees. Let me put it this way. Think about all the things that you have been through in your life. And yet here you still are. If you're listening to this, you've got through. You've been through some of the most traumatic, some of the worst imaginable experiences that a human being can be through. And without knowing, you were strong enough to get through. Just imagine what your life could be if you started working on yourself. Just imagine if you could collect some of the strength of those things that you went through and applied that to moving forward. You see, without knowing what you were doing, you got through it. You survived. You were resilient. You were strong as fuck. You were determined. Now imagine you didn't have to use all that emotion and you'd done it with love. Imagine you got to a place in your life where you loved yourself enough to go, do you know what? I'm important enough to put myself first in moments. That I've overcame the worst. What else can life throw at me? You see, life isn't hard all of the time. It's hard in moments. But you overcome every one of them to this point.
Thomas, thank you very, very much for that. I really appreciate that. And thanks for your time today. Again, if anybody wants to get in contact with Thomas at Change, you can do so at www.change.co.uk. Or indeed on social media, as Thomas alluded to earlier on. But we will put across all the various social media tags for Thomas and Change Wellness Program. His gym is also based up at the Conway Mill.
Yeah.
So again, local here in Belfast. Thank you very much, listeners. And again, we would ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at 25. Also subscribe to our mail list at www.justmental.net. Thank you very much.